So I had hoped to be filming today on my new laptop, however the video quality is absolutely rubbish. I don't think I've ever seen anything so... It was grainy, but it wasn't even grainy in the fun way. It looked like something straight out of the 2000s, barely putting the photo together. So I'm going to be using my laptop to go over through 5 book recommendations. I've been meaning to do this video for a while, however I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do my YouTube videos, so for the time being, I'm just gonna be making the content that I want to make, because I don't really have much of a following, so it doesn't really matter. But I want to talk about some a book series that I am really enjoying at the moment, the books I am currently reading, and just give you an update on my general reading process. First things first is last month I read a substantial amount of books, and this month is no better. I've read a lot more than what I read last month as well, which is a little bit concerning, but then I realised I've read a lot of short stories. So when I do my wrap up for this month, I'm going to be focusing on... I'll probably do separate videos, but I'm just going to focus on the novels, the duologies, you know, that sort of thing, rather than the kids' books, the short stories, because I love a lot. I've read an absolute ton of short stories this month, just to try and make it a bit more concise. But I feel like there's not a lot of people here who are going to be here to hear about the, like, no one wants to know every single thing that I read, and if they do, you'd be following me on Goodreads. It's a Rumi Reads for anyone who's curious. But basically, I will do a separate video for short stories that I read and what I enjoyed about them for anyone who's interested later. But for now, we're going to be talking about some of the books that I have really enjoyed this month so far, starting with When the Coffee Goes Cold. Now, for those of you who don't know, Before the Coffee Goes Cold is a series by Kawaguchi Toshikazu. I hope I'm saying that name right. I feel like I'm butchering it. I have read the first 3 books in this series. We are waiting for the 6th and the 7th book, I believe. 6th and 7th book in the series to be translated. We are on the way to getting that sorted, but at the moment, I say we, like I'm the one translating it. The first 5 books have been translated. There's apparently 6 and 7 we are waiting to be translated, and they haven't been done, which is why I'm hesitating to read book 4. But the first 3 books that I've read, the first 3 books in the series, Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Let's see if I can just put it up here actually. I managed to to get a new laptop for the same amount I bought my old one for. I would like to get a better quality one, but I've got to be honest, I'm not as up to date. I know most people are using PCs and stuff. It's going to be a while, I reckon, before I can pick up a decent PC. I have 2. They need splicing together to be usable, and I think I'm at the point where it might make more sense just to sell the components that I already have on and just finance a new one. Like, that is up to date, that will run the games that I want as well, which is part of the reason why I've leaned more towards books in the past months. This isn't coming up with the book series, it normally does. Touchscreen is also brilliant. So the first 2 books, and these are the books that I've read this month, are Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is your introduction to the series, Tales from the Cafe, which is book 2, and Before Your Memory Fades, which is book 3. I have books 4 and 5 at the moment, which I've borrowed from the library as ebooks because I find it easier to read, and they are Before We Say Goodbye and Before We Forget Kindness. Now, for anyone who isn't too familiar with the series, each book has 4 stories of 4 different people wanting to return to the past or to the future. In this cafe, the book is about whimsy. There's a sense of magic. I absolutely love the magic system in these books. I like there's a lot of rules, like you can go to the past, you can go to the future, but you can't change or impact what's going to happen. The only thing you can do, you can sit and have a conversation with someone that has been to the cafe previously. If you get up from your seat, you are immediately going to be forced back to the present, and if you don't drink your coffee before it gets cold, you will become the next ghost that haunts the seat. Sorry, itchy nose allergies. Which I absolutely love. But what I've been enjoying most about this series, and what makes this series so difficult for me to put down, is if anyone here is familiar with the term cozy gaming, then we've got cozy literature, which I did not know was a thing. Usually I find stuff like books that are very similar to like D&D, kind of more my thing, but it can't read like D&D, if that makes sense. And what I've found really interesting is that these books should be mundane, but you see, I find that these books handle the human condition, which I find absolutely fascinating, and how we interact with the world and with our emotions and with other people, and like the way that we live and deal with our regrets, our past, our present, our future. And I just find it really interesting how these characters interact with the rules, with the ghosts, with like all the rules as well that are in place for this specific cafe. I really like seeing how being able to travel to the past actually impacts them as a person. You can't go to the past and change anything for how it's happened, but you can go back and you can have a conversation with someone from the past. And I just think that the way that these books are laid out is absolutely brilliant. I'm sorry if you can hear that noise in the background. I have 2 guineas who are just enjoying the water. But yeah, I would like to... We are getting book 6 translated soon. It's in the process of being translated, which I think is absolutely brilliant, but we haven't got an official release date for when we're going to get that in English print. So for the meantime, we just have the first 5 books which have been released. I will take those 5. I mean, I've read the first 3, I've got 2 more to read. I'm trying to work my way through short stories in between because I want to read more classical literature. That's one of my goals for this year, because I usually avoid it, as well as horror, which kind of brings me on to my next book. The Silent Companions, which is another one that I borrowed from the library. And if you just give me a sec, because my allergies are playing up a lot. I am on my last pack of allergy medication, and I did not even realise. When I've done this video, I have to put my fans on and my aircon. No, well, my aircon. It's like I've got like an air purifier next to my desk, and usually what I do is I like put the 8-hour timer on to help me figure out how long I'm going to be sleeping for. But that goes on when I'm sleeping. My window's permanently open. I'm really struggling with allergies right now. But yeah, the next book that I wanted to talk about is The Silent Companions. Oh, Cynthia from Goodreads, thank you so much for recommending me this book. It was brilliant. I have been given a streak of like absolutely awful books that people were recommending me. I don't like spice, and I really do not like... There's a niche of women who write fetishized male love stories, and those were the books that were getting recommended because I'm a trans gay man, and so one of my mates thought I would love those books. I've hated every single one of them. They were all do not finish, and the thing is, I can't turn down a recommendation. I will at least give a book a try. Some women just need to stop writing gay romance books for men, because when I was reading them, I was like, this is a fetish book for women. And it made me so uncomfortable on so many levels. So when I got these... So Cynthia came through at a brilliant time with like 30 different recommendations for like all these books. And the first book that I finished so far, I think 2 of the books that she recommended I've already read. One of them was The Cruel Prince. I did not enjoy that. I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but I felt dodgy as a 25-year-old man reading a book that has minors that are gonna fall in love. I liked Shatter Me, okay? I really did enjoy Shatter Me, but I will not be picking up the second book because there was a lot of spicy language in that first book, and I am 25. You have to draw the line at some point. So I will be looking for books that are more age appropriate, but like I liked how it was wrote, but to be a 25-year-old man, or back when I read it, 24-year-old man, who was reading that, it was like this... BookTok, a lot of you are adults. Don't read books with spice that are made for children, and call the men in those books, they are boys, don't call those boys your book boyfriends. They are 16, 17, 18. Age is just a number. I don't like that. That's not an excuse. You are too old. It is inappropriate. BookTok, unless you are a teenager yourself, you should not be reading those books. and calling the underage, the minor characters in the books your boyfriends. And I don't want to hear any of this aging up excuse. It's inappropriate, it's disgusting, it's pedophile behaviour. And if the roles were reversed and it was a man and a woman, we'd be cancelling whole channels. People would be getting doxxed. It's disgusting. I don't agree with it, but like, why would leave the kids, the teenage, like, if it's a romance book set in high school, please don't call them your book boyfriends. I don't understand why. Please read something more age appropriate for yourself. I was very happy. Like, the book was well wrote. It's not. We're gonna leave that there because it made me very uncomfortable. I didn't clock till the end of the book that they were teenagers. I don't know how. I was too busy here. Like, I thought we were dealing with a flashback and then they're like 20. I gotta be honest, I think that's the only reason I could like get to the end. But just hearing people, I struggle hearing anything about those books now, because why have we got 20 to 30-year-old people calling boys their book boyfriends? Like, no. No. It was weird when the 30-year-old hit on you in high school. It is weird you in your 20 to 30s are hitting on fictional characters. Please stay away from that. Miss me with your bullshit. Silent Companions though I thought it was going to be a romance book, I will not lie, going into this. And when I saw that the lady who wrote Woman in Black loved it, I was like, well, this is how you know you've got a good horror story. Now, I usually don't like horror stories. I feel like a lot of horror is overdone. Usually for me, horror is a coping mechanism to help me sleep without nightmares. I will listen to like 3-4 books before bed, like short stories to help me like sleep. I have started listening to classic literature just because it has the same effect. I haven't had any nightmares, and weirdly a lot of classical literature which is not marked as horror is horror. And I do find it quite interesting how language changes over time. What I was talking to someone called Noah on Goodreads, and I remember them saying to me, yeah, I've been avoiding a lot of the older books because in a lot of horror, the way that authors will describe something as disgusting would be, it was incomprehensible beyond words, and I was so shocked. And that, like, to us, the modern reader, you need more. But back then, that was pretty much the language, the lingo that was used to describe something being horrific or scary. There was a lot more. Like, I think the changes in literature and language is something that also needs to be noticed. Like, with a lot of the stuff going on with AI, we are seeing a lot of brain rot language making it into books, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because the books are usually, it's just, I like it when a book makes references to historical events or like cultural icons and things like that. I like when it's like a mixture of the two. But what I don't like is when it's all brain rot, which is something we are seeing in the publishing world more and more, which is why I think it's also more important to go back and look at books that were published a couple of years ago, or if not further, just to get an understanding of how literature has changed, how the way that the publishing world works, a lot of things like that. And I am just going to read you my review because it took me a good hour to figure out how to write this because there was so much going on inside the book. I'm going to try and it's quite a lengthy review. We're going to try and condense it a bit because I want to keep my video under 20 minutes. It's a gothic novel set in a decaying country estate in Victorian England. One thing that I did like about the book is how it backs and forths between 1600 and 1800. I quite liked how we had these two characters. So in the modern day was the 1800s. we have this woman who is in a mental asylum for the things she has endured and seen at the house. And in 1600, we have this woman who is a witch, but she's a good witch, so she's good. She's one of the good guys, you know, it's all good. And we see how her like gradual descent to her, what eventually ends up happening to her book, mirrors the lady who isn't necessarily her descendant, someone that married into the family, but we see a lot of parallels between the 1600s and the 1800s, and the book interlaces these time frames, and it talks about how it's just it talks about the 1600 impacts the modern day. And I don't want to go into too much without spoiling the plot, but what happens in 1600 is impacting the 1800s, because this house, which the married woman who's expecting a child in the 1800s, or was, because this is the other thing to remember, and this is something that took me a couple of chapters to realise was happening, I will admit. So we've got the 1600s, we've got the 1800s, and then we've got late 18s, well, not even late, it was like mid 1800s, where we've got the past. You've got the woman who has just lost her husband. She's mourning, she's awaiting a baby. She goes to this place called the Bridge, which she's inherited from her husband, who changed his will to pass to her and her unborn child. And then we've got another time frame, which is when this woman is in a mental asylum for the things that happened to her at the Bridge, but no one else can see these things that are happening to her, and it happened to someone else before her, and unfortunately, because of all these things that are going on, she ends up getting pinned for the murder of many, many people. And it's just the way the story is wrote, the superstitions, the paranormal, I usually struggle with switching povs. There is one thing I also want to mention. There's a Miss Bainbridge and a Mrs. Bainbridge. I found this very confusing. I didn't clock till the end of the book that Miss Bainbridge was one of the servants who was actually one of the descendants of the original people who owned the house, and Mrs. Bainbridge is the lady that married the man who's now dead and inherits his fortune instead of so she would be the cousin. But then there's a lot of like family drama that is woven really cleverly into the plot, and I was just like, I can remember being sat in my bed being like, wait, what they relate to who now? What what are they doing? I thought the book was very clever in how it was wrote. I liked the changing povs. I usually struggle changing povs because I feel like it happens too often usually in books, but the way that I'm just checking the author is behind this book, Laura Purcell, the way that they described what was going on, the way that they handled the change, it just, I'm sorry for my next door neighbour's dog barking, the way that they handled it was absolutely masterful, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book from start to finish. So it was one of my 5-star reads. Highly recommend. Like, I don't like horror normally because it, like I said earlier, a lot of it starts to sound the same. But The Silent Companions, if you add a book to your to be read list this year, let it be this one. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And then one more book I want to talk about this video. I am now over halfway through it. I've been reading this little by little because you look at that cover and tell me you think it's going to be a cozy book. I thought this was going to be it is in some ways full of like magic, mystery, adventure. But the F.T. Lukens has managed to make a book with gods and deities and otherworldly beings that's a cozy read more than the great stakes which I wasn't expecting. I honestly, I wasn't expecting. The pacing's a bit slow for me, I gotta admit. There's some events that happen in here and I'm like, well, if they're a magical being, why can't they just like... But then, like, I think I'm with one of the main characters, Nox, in this book, where I don't understand why he can't use his magic and he doesn't either, but the humans in the book are like, you need to cover that, you need to protect yourself, you need to keep yourself safe. This is more of a cozy read, I am starting to realise I have a love for cosy books, so we're gonna see how that goes. I've managed to make it more than halfway through, but I am making way with my own bookshelf. But yeah, it's just a little update video with like what I'm reading at the moment, because I have read, and where I feel I am with my reading journey at the moment. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!